All right, we are live. Paul Bowman, welcome to the future of fitness, my friend.
Love to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, you're one of those guys where it's you and I are just chatting. I can't believe we haven't met. I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
know that
just
is strange.
yeah,
It's
through all the things. And the first question I have to be an executive at Wexer, do you have to be over 2 meters tall? Like what are you people so big?
I don't know. No is the official answer, but we trend to hire tall people. I'm not too sure why.
Yeah, it's like easy to spot at conferences.
Maybe.
I think that's
Well,
nice.
they did say that you can always see Paul in a room and it's just always easy to follow him. So, maybe it's just
Yeah,
more of an efficiency thing. We're trying to make everything more efficient, so that helps.
yeah, awesome, man. Well, thank you for doing this. I can already tell it's gonna be a lot of fun. I mean, so you're the CEO of Wexer. You also run the Wexer podcast. You've been in the industry quite a while. You're big in athletics. Lot of stuff to cover with you, and maybe just to set the table here, Paul, if you don't mind, give us a little bit about your background. How'd you end up as the CEO of Wexer, and then we'll get into some of the topics that we discussed earlier.
Yeah, no. So I'll start. Well, so I was a failed athlete. I think is probably the easiest thing to do. I got injured very, very early. Used to play professional volleyball. That actually built my rehab and my knowledge for wanting to have better experiences and better knowledge sharing. Because I realized when I was in rehab, there was only a few people. I'm coming from New Zealand right now, but I actually played in Germany and then got injured and got sent back to New Zealand to rehab. And I realized that there's only maybe two people that knew all of this knowledge, and none of that was shared. It was very much, locked under lock and key. So originally got really, really passionate about the industry in terms of too much stuff is behind closed walls, and we need to be able to share that. So then, of course, traditionally went into operation as a owner and operator. And I guess my story is linked to Wexer heavily as most entrepreneurs are, but we there was a club group that I was running in London, and we realized that we actually were challenging ourselves to how important group exercise was. So this was 2012, 2013. So we ran a survey to see, we were creating our own content, we're doing everything else. And we were like, how important is this? Because the cost structure is huge. So the survey came back that essentially a third of the membership, these boxes would hold around about 3,000 members. A third of the membership the only reason they were going is these group exercise classes. And in particular, there was 3 trainers that they were coming for, but our rooms could only have the capacity of maybe holding 50, 60, 70 people. So we're actually realizing every week they were only coming for those trainers that they could even get into. So that was my original premise of, coming from, old rehab days where I'm like, hang on, we need to share our information far better. And then also realizing that the demand there was significant. But, you could say we launched Wexer a little bit too early in 2013. So we had to heavily pivot, but I'm sure we'll get into that more. But that's my background in a nutshell.
Wow, 11 years, huh? I
Yeah.
didn't realize it's been around that long.
Yeah, I know. Not a lot of people have. It started because we realized the original premise is actually live streaming. So how do we make ourselves relevant outside the four walls of the club within this context? And then, of course, realizing that actually that served a lot for a lot of other people when we realized this was actually a business by itself. But we realized the technology stack and everything that we needed to build wasn't there. So that's when we said, hey, look, the original premise, even though it was how do we give the best advice and the best talent to the people every time 24/7, which is just a norm now, that wasn't a norm then. So that's when we actually pivoted to say, look, we're going to go into the virtual category, which is, and that had already started somewhat, still very, very new. But yeah, that was when we said, okay, look, we're going to, make our own player, proprietary technology, and put that on so we can help kill dead space in these gyms and elsewhere. But it very much was focused on gyms in 2013. And then from that, we will make sure that we, build enough cash to be able to start playing in the mobile space as aggressively as we have. And, now we do 25 million fitness experience. So we got a lot right, but we got a lot wrong as well, Eric.
That's just the way it goes.
Yes. Yes.
With, I guess maybe explain, in its current iteration, we're in Q2 2024 here.
Yeah.
What does Wexer do? What is like the range of products and services that you guys provide now?
There's a lot. I think the easiest way to think of it is Wexer is fundamentally an ecosystem of digital platforms. We have content that comes with those digital platforms. And so we aggregate all the top content from around the world. And so anyone from, telco operators, multifamily housing, hotels, traditional gyms are able to do it. But I think the biggest probably trend now is we're seeing a lot of people creation of their own content as well. So there's a big mixture of people using our product, so either on mobile, so mobile split into our app, our web, our SDK, and our API. So a lot of people probably listening to your podcast probably play with our content and our technology, but they don't know that we do. We're very much a white labeled service. So we're always we always believe that the club group or the operator that we're working with needs to be the rockstar, and that we support that. So everything is white labeled. And then of course we've got in what we call in-gym technology. So screens from, how the traditional group exercise stuff, but also on the gym floor. And then of course with Core as well, we're integrating all of the content and the platform so they're able to personalize the gym experience whilst using bits of equipment as well. So the platform's large. It's doing 25 million fitness experiences. But we're a platform company, and I think we're probably fair to say that we're actually moving into a little bit of a media company. A lot of our success has been helping club groups go, being able to offer digital at scale to help their members, but also commercialize that. We have partners that are posting 48 million a year on digital now with really, really nice media strategies, usually creation of all their own content supported by third-party library. So not as easy to answer as it used to be.
Yeah. Oh, welcome to the fitness industry in 2024. It's different than it has been, for sure. When you say media company, I mean, now we're starting to get into very broad category, but
yes.
How do you describe that? Is it like B2C media? Is it B2B2C media? Like what types of medias are you covering?
Yeah, I might go back to, I'll actually even go back to before COVID. So there was a lot that we were realizing that people were using our technology stack and selling our third-party content, which was fine, absolutely. And some got significantly, but most got significantly rewarded for that. But we realized that as people were engaging with content, how people engage with content changed significantly, and COVID drove this heavily, is that people started to follow more persona-based content. So people wanted to follow a particular, I don't like to call them influencers, but like content creator. And that content creator stood for something. So, we did a piece of research, which happy to share to your audience, where we actually saw there was really 6 major category in terms of how people engage with fitness, but in particular digital as well. And then, and it all is based off confidence. So the more confident you are, we kind of put you in 2 categories of you're the achiever or the focused individual. But right at the other spectrum, when you're unconfident, you're the beginner, you're the learner. And so one category essentially needs to be supported, one category needs to be inspired. But fundamentally, the technology stack needs to be worked out the same way. But what we realized is people would follow particular personas. And I think, Weight Watchers did this really well when they, brought on the likes of like James Corden and a few others to share that story. And then that story resonated with a particular following. And then, hey, I see myself in that person, and therefore I follow. It's exactly the same within digital now. So, the creation of generic content, even though it has its place, 100% it has its place, it's not as well viewed as local star content. So, yeah, and that really sits really, really well with the commercial gym space because they're sitting on rock stars every day creating content within group exercise. So it's just literally a matter of kind of changing the mindset. Like, do you want that rock star to be a part of your brand, helping you grow memberships, which a lot of successful clubs have done this very, very well, but still not completely adopted in terms of, the norm of, i.e., how do I manage kind of fitness talent, 12 fitness professionals that are persona driven that I'm going to allow on my platform to deliver content every single week. There's challenges in that. So that's what I mean by us becoming a little bit more of a media company where we're hand holding a lot of operators and, the people that we listen to your podcast, but outside of industries, working with a lot of insurance companies and stuff, doing a similar strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, really. I mean, there's a lot more follow-up questions I have there. No, it's great. I'm really interested in trends that you're recognizing within how content is consumed. There's a lot of, we live in a world where there's just content everywhere.
Sure.
You can't escape it. Right. It's
Correct.
literally everywhere. Unless I got to go I gotta go backcountry like 10
Yes.
miles. I feel like I finally feel away from all the
Yeah.
content.
But I
But
think some of the smartest men and women in business are talking about everyone needs to become a content company, because you need to hold your brand. It's the attention economy. It's why we're doing these podcasts. We're making sure that we're holding people's attention to the brand that they need to do. And that's where I think so many people are going, well, that's where media and content kind of overlap so significantly.
yeah. Yeah. Well, let's circle back because I want to get your insight on what other trends you're seeing. But
Yeah.
I was recently listening, actually this morning when I was working, I was listening to Lex Friedman podcast. Uh, what's his name? Mark from owns the Dallas Mavericks. Shark Tank. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
He's,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he was talking about how he recognized bubbles, right,
Right.
within
Yeah.
industry, and that's how he would a ton of money, like seeing the patterns. And he was kind of talking about things, and I was like, huh. As I was listening to it, I was like putting two and two together. I'm like, we definitely had a couple of bubbles pop, right, over the last year or two. So would you say, I mean, you guys are standing strong here,
Mm.
in 2024, but would you say that digital fitness had a bubble that burst over the past few years?
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I think yes, it is the short answer. And then I think there was a demand that needed to be met, and there was money supporting that demand, which I think over exemplified what the world was going to be. As I said to you offline, I always believed, even when COVID was saying, I come from club operators. The reason why Wexer was built is to help club operators remain relevant in a digital world. So we just couldn't see for the life of us why the likes of a Peloton Experience or other great content partners would just be able to hold that. They always had to go. There had to be an element of physical and digital, and I think they forced the hybrid, which is the good. But talking about just solely direct to home digital, we just couldn't see it, even though we benefited from it. A lot of our people that we worked with had great uptake. But the reality was, we always knew that it was probably going to come down by 50 to 60%, and that's exactly where it is. That you look at the overall market before COVID, it's grown significantly. It actually is still growing if you take a CAGR look at it. So content adoption and digital adoption is still becoming a norm. So it forced the hybrid people to embrace hybrid. However, I think yes, the bubble definitely popped. If it was, and I think a lot of the companies that we're probably thinking in our heads when we're listening to this is they're running at huge losses. So they didn't, they kept trying to pump that bubble up as much as possible, but in reality, the demand wasn't there. And as soon as clubs opened up and physical locations opened up, because you can't take that away. There's every single research piece we've ever done since 2013, fundamentally highlighted the need to be able to have the physical experience supported with digital. And so, unless we were extremely wrong, which touch wood we weren't, we saw it.
So how does digital support the physical? Like when you kind of outline that, describe it, and maybe even some use cases of clients that you guys work with. Everyone's have a different viewpoint on that.
Yeah. Well, I think the fun, which we didn't actually even understand that this would be the case. But if you take the people that need to be supported, take away the people that need to be the achievers and what I would call the achievers and the folks, because they would only use digital to make sure that they're going to find their work. So, like, if they can't get to the gym, if I can't get to the gym, then next option is going to be, I'm going to do a digital workout of some sort, or I'll find a way to do a workout. They're going to find their options. They're completely, that's the way that they're tuned in, which is probably most listeners in the podcast. But there's beginners and learners, and the beginners and the learners find going just straight into a group exercise environment, even though they might want to, really, really intimidating. So having content to be able to support those individuals at home, like let's say just doing it in their house, being able to do a yoga session, not feeling embarrassed about what they can and can't do, then moving into the physical. So the physical still with digital content, and then moving into the physical with a live instructor. That's a really nice lead on. So if you take our stats again from 2013, we actually grow group exercise portfolios by 12%. In every single club that we've ever been in, because of that fact. Because what we're essentially doing is making it easier to consume for those learners and beginners to be able to consume that type of content. And naturally, everyone loves that group exercise. If it's functional group exercise, if it's CrossFit, if they're, Zumba, whatever type format, it's always going to exist. It's just going to be changing in terms of the how it's delivered. But that content piece really plays an important piece. And then once they get used to that, if they grow up with that as a way of getting into the live realm and connecting with an instructor, we actually see that their demand for that instructor to be on the screen as well. So clubs that have actually recorded those particular instructors and give them the ability to be on our platform, the usage is significant, because every time they're kind of like billboard, aren't they? They can only deliver to those 50 people, but those, back to my story about, the operations that I used to run, is that there's so many people that can't actually access that class because it's booked out because of whatever reason. So then we actually see them then constantly engaging with that individual online and physically. So they kind of become a little bit more rock star oriented. I always go back and I always give the analogy to a lot of operators about Disney Plus. So the original kind of premise of Disney Plus was that they were seeing that they were in an attention economy, but they didn't have control of their own channels. So they wanted to control their own channels and then see if that grew park attendance, was the original premise. Of course, everyone knows what's come as a subscription. But if you take the stats of someone that has engaged with content, then goes to a park, they're more than likely to increase their content consumption of Disney by 50%. It's exactly the same in fitness. If I see you online, Eric, and I do a session with you, let's call it a CrossFit session, and then I do your session with you physically, I'm 50% more likely to you do that session again with you. So it's a real powerful tool to bring the digital and physical together.
Yeah. Who, if you're going to give like shining examples of who's doing it really well, within your partnership ecosystem. I mean, and I'm curious, like globally, like in what regions of the world, what types of brands, like you mentioned CrossFit, is it boutique? Is it, large box gym? Like give us some insights into like what's working, who's doing well.
No, I think SmartFit need the credits. They've done very well. So I would say in terms of digital as a component of how so SmartFit do the traditional strategy of influencer led people that they can access into in the gym. They're all following they're following their fitness journey as they do. They produce, 8 to 12 titles every single day, and they're earning around about, I can say that because they're IPO'd, around about 48 million a year, from digital. So doing great things. But then you've got, the RSG group, based out of Germany, and of course own Gold's Gym as well. And basically they were the one with probably the original innovators to go, look, we're going to take content inside the clubs and outside the clubs and have that as a consistent experience. They've benefited, of course, significantly from doing so, because they were able to add so much value to their customers and bounce back so much better from that. And then, so I'd say the big box gym have probably executed more from a monetary means, but then, the likes of like 9Round has done an amazing job. Like I was talking to Shannon and the team, they've got half of the amount of people engaging with digital every single week. But again, because of that persona-led strategy, you think about those local kind of boutique boxes, and they've got, maybe 4 or 5 instructors, making sure that those people are actually on that channel to engage that hub of, 300 to 800 members is so critical. So everyone's got their different version. And I guess how we, I know we always go back to the numbers, in terms of how big is successful. I think the big boxes have probably done the best because they've got the larger database. And what we've realized is we can have so much more success when we're talking to large databases. So, like, we're working with the likes of Hilton and other hotels, and it's, their databases are just like astronomical compared to one of that in fitness. But, and so we've done well being able to commercialize databases in that regard. But it all depends, it's fundamentally is, are you looking at LTV, in terms of making sure that your customer lifetime value is increasing, or are you looking at it as your own commercial needs? So yeah, those would be my examples off the top of my head.
Awesome. And have you noticed anything, and kind of getting back to the trends in content consumption, but any significant trends you've seen as far as like maybe age groups, demographics, or way it's consumed? Like, is it in-app? Is it, streaming? Like what are some of the eye-opening things that you've recognized over the past?
Good broad question, Eric. You've done this before.
Yeah.
So the trend that we've seen mostly, and we actually posted about this, is strength and wellness have become huge category. So like, it was always probably, I'd say, more traditional group exercise hit with their yoga was there, Pilates was there as the probably major big four. And that's been like that for 10 years. The strength and wellness thing has probably been the biggest change that we've ever seen within our platform. And again, we're doing 25 million fitness experiences. So we've got a pretty good handle on what that trend kind of highlights. And, so 40% of the overall platform plays are on strength. And then 20% is about is wellness, and that has just been so rapid. We've actually it's so broad now that we have to break it out. So because we've got sleep stories, we've got meditation, we've got inspirational conversation. So we're trying to break that out because it's just too big as its own category. But that's probably been the huge shift. And I think if we're looking at demographic, what's driven that is naturally a male on a platform would be actually going to strength anyway. But it's the females rate of like how many, like it's, I'd say it's about 70% now that are female oriented to the strength programming that Wexer has, or the content that the operators are creating and they're following. And then the wellness stuff, which is interesting, like no one really has got into the wellness space as an operator. It's all very much third party content library, which I think is a great thing for third party content because it just supports it. Like, our big emphasis is when we're working with any operator is what do you want to be good at? It doesn't make sense for 9 rounds to go start doing meditation stories, but it does make sense for them to do, kickboxing and staying in the combat side. And so the most club groups are doing that, focusing on what that is for them, and then supporting this with a lot of the wellness stuff, which I think is just a great trend for the betterment of our industry. If we're getting people lifting more, focusing on their strengths and focusing on their muscle gains, as well as supporting it with great recovery, I think we're in a good space if this trend continues.
Yeah. It's just did a podcast on industry kind of report. One of the things I'm not shocked of it because it's been a conversation topic here numerous times, but women in strength training and, how crazy it is. Like I'm gonna screw this up, but I'm gonna just, give me some latitude here, people. Like the hashtag on TikTok of girls who lift got something like 10 billion views.
Yes,
right?
No, it's huge. Yeah.
It's amazing. So when you look at that trend, like any insights, I mean, obviously, social media has a big part of it.
Well,
but what are your takeaways?
We actually track YouTube a lot as well, in regards to just how much they upload of fitness or content. So and it's broad, is really broad, but the thing is, what's it, 1 petabyte? That's the new thing, isn't it? Of content is uploaded, fitness content is uploaded on YouTube per day. And then, and so 60 to 70% of that is, of course, influencer based. Out of those influencers, 80% are females. And then from that, all of them are pretty much having massive strength element. So you kind of go, well, looking at, I think YouTube is the main media that we have these days, right? I find myself actually just watching YouTube and being able to control my own thing than going on traditional, hopefully not sponsored by traditional media. But I find it easier for me to be able to engage with. And, that I think alone is probably what we need to start. And we're focusing on it a lot more, is what we're seeing uploaded literally comes to our trend probably within the next 6 to 9 months. And that trend is strong right now. If you're looking at, YouTube influencers pushing strength, the importance of strength, all of that type of stuff. And it shows the power of what they have, as a collective as well.
Yeah. Well, I'll sit here and eat crow because I've made fun of fitness influencers for years. But here they are making like a significant positive impact on, I mean, there's nothing better than strength. Like, if you're looking at health, longevity, all those things, like there's nothing better than strength training in my opinion. And so it's really cool to see.
It is. I think it's amazing to see, and I think from an injury point of view, there's so many benefits to strength training. So it's as I said, betterment for the industry. I think it's a good thing. I think everyone probably is pushing their boats into this. Like club groups are changing. How much I saw when I was walking around clubs at Ursa in terms of so a lot of the Gold's Gym have taken out their cycling studios completely and put in strength lifting equipment and stuff. It's a trend that everyone's kind of pushing towards. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. So I feel like I can't get away from any conversation without artificial intelligence, but let's just
do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
When it comes to content creation, AI is playing a significant role now, but it's also going to continue to play a much bigger role. I mean, the acceleration, I don't think people even realize like how
No.
fast this is going.
Yeah.
What do you, this broad question again, but maybe let me put a time frame on it. In like 5 years, 2029, right? When you look at how AI has changed how we make content, how we distribute content, how we engage with content, like what do you think are going to be some of the significant changes that we've seen in that period of time?
Look, I think you'll be able to go. I know we keep the buzzword is hyper personalization, but I think
Hmm.
it is going to be hyper personalization. We follow Disney a lot in terms of what, and we have actually been talking to Runway a lot, who is an AI content generating tool. The issue, well, I'll tell you where the issue is right now. The issue with content creation right now, and I know your source, Zora, is the fact that when you're doing something in regards to the fitness side, it's kind of like the 5% going to take forever to solve. And that might be a 2-year, 3-year thing, which is you don't actually know. So we've done examples where we've tried to run with Runway to be able to go, look, can we do, Angie Garcia doing this workout in this background or the rest of it? But the issue is with fitness is it can't, if it gets itself wrong, and it does all the time, they'll start doing something completely different, like, running around in a circle or doing something very weird. It's quite entertaining, to be honest. But it's not right in terms of actually how the structure of the exercise. But then you can't just change that part. You have to change the whole thing. So at the moment, it's always running with issue. And it's going to be solved. Like I totally, if we talked about the 5-year time period, it will be solved. And so I think naturally a user is going to be able, similar to movie, is going to be able to run its own thing. So, hey, I want, Eric to be doing this session in Malibu, and I want to, only to see it through his eyes or something like that. We're not that far away from that. They've got to solve this issue in terms of programming. No, yeah, and they always do the whole, well, if you can solve the 60 seconds, you can solve an hour. But in reality, that's not true, because what Disney and Runway are doing right now is they're actually doing it as a way of, hey, I want to watch, they always give the example of Star Wars. So I want to watch Star Wars, and I want to watch only through, give me a Star Wars character, shows my knowledge. My son will be embarrassed. Luke Skywalker. I only want to see the movie through Luke Skywalker, and I want to increase the movie by 2 hours. You're going to be able to do that. But the thing is, you need to still create the content for it to be able to pick up these things. So I guess in 5 years' time, we'll probably create content. Users will be able to specify, literally tell what to do, but you're still going to need the formats to be done. So I think you'll be able to change backgrounds. You'll be able to change the way the camera works. You'll be able to change so much stuff. But the fundamental is that you're still going to have the core content. And of course, as I alluded to when we were speaking, it's all about persona. So, you're still going to have that character. That's the key component to be able to create the content. I really went deep into that, but we're looking at it heavily, Eric, as you can imagine.
Yeah, you got it, right? I mean, one of the other things too, I mean, this bridges into VR, AR,
Yes.
MR, but I was at URSA, Health Fitness Association now, that conference. And after I had the day off yesterday, afterwards, before I traveled, I went to the Apple store. I ended up seeing Dr. Paul Bedford there testing out the
Vision Pro.
headsets. And so that was my first experience with AR, right? Altered reality, mixed reality. Impressive.
Yeah.
Heavy, right?
Yeah.
Physically heavy. Form factor was challenge. But how much time and energy are you guys putting into that segment? It's something like, it was all the rage. It was all the talk a couple of years, but now it's kind of gone quiet.
Well, when Oculus first came out, it was probably us and Zumba that they spent a lot of time trying to create the content or trying to find a way to be able to play it. Because, of course, the obvious thought pattern was we can make it so much more interactive. We can show heart rate figures, we can show all of this type of stuff, and it can be personalized. And I think it's probably fair to say it was a complete flop on the fitness side, because, trying to do a burpee with a headset like that or doing anything like that is near impossible. But then, the whole thought pattern for us was, how do we just make people move more? So, do we play in the game space a little bit more? But nothing really kicked off in the fitness. It went down more entertainment route. I guess, so with Apple Vision, I kind of would say it's the same. Like, is it going to be more of a productivity tool / entertainment tool than it will be fitness? Because, I've tried doing a workout with that on, or just doing simple movements, and it's not good, is it? I imagine anyone that's tried it can probably understand what I'm going through. So it's not there for movement, and I guess I don't know. I'm going a little bit completely off script here, but I don't like the idea of us becoming the robot. I'd rather robots get created, and let's get Apple Vision Pro to have hands and legs and do the stuff that we don't want to do, so we can think about bigger things to solve. Like that, my view. But and so my answer is I don't really know how much it's going to play an impact, because I still don't think the fitness experience is very good, and unless they get to the glasses, which there's a lot of talk at the moment in terms of just natural glasses to wear. But even people working out with glasses in the gym, how often do they take them off? So it's still far off in terms of form factor for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think, from what I saw, education,
Yes,
business applications, entertainment, lights out. It's going to be
agreed.
awesome. Right.
Agreed.
But that also being said, I'm with you. Like, I don't want to see us connected to these things all the
No.
time, man. It seems like it's almost inevitable.
I've got young kids, and my 7-year-old, anything like this. And of course, I'm very fortunate to get a lot of this stuff, so I can play around with it in my home and stuff like that. And how addictive it is for a 7-year-old brain scares me. It really does. It's straight away. He was like, didn't want to take it off, behavior change, all this type of stuff, which is yeah. And I know we're talking about 7-year-olds, so it's maybe more of a adult thing. So, and productivity tool, but I think, the brain is the brain, right? We'll get addicted to that form factor, and we won't be doing a lot. We'll just be, sitting and maybe standing if we're lucky, which, I think it's a threat to our industry. We've got to, make sure people are off devices and give them what we do well, which is deliver great experiences and motivate, give people support and inspire people.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, man. Let's talk about the podcast a little bit, the Wexer
Yeah.
podcast. So, what is it? 40 something episodes you got now?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. 37 episodes, it looks like. So you've been doing this for a little bit. What made you start a podcast? What was the interest there?
Good question. It was COVID. It was, I think, similar to, again, going right back to how I started the podcast, is sharing information. We've always been big on sharing information, but we were also realizing that, a lot of people knew Wexer, and, a lot of people knew that we worked with biggest club groups around the world, but not a lot of people knew how we was helping people succeed. So originally, and this was, of course, COVID time as well, which, was a lot easier when we were able to walk around trade shows and talk to people and all the rest of it. So we went, look, we should actually share some of these stories about how to help other people in terms of how to be relevant to customers digitally. It kind of quitted from there. But just kept, so it was kind of the one thing we only thought we would just do it for a few, just to share, stories. I think we had Nad as the original one from Evolution of Wellness sharing his story, and Garrett from Exponential, a lot of the kind of traditional people that were focusing on digital at that time, but it's kind of evolved to just the business side of things as well. And of course, similar to yours, you get a lot of entrepreneurs, you get a lot of people asking the different guests to interview. So look, I feel like, and my need to share as much knowledge as possible, similar to what you're doing. And I thank you for doing it, because I think it's important that we do. I should play my part. So hence why the Wexer podcast is doing this. I should have bigged it up way more. The marketing team would have probably wanted it a whole lot more. More kudos. They're the ones that do it all. I'm just the one, the face in front of it. But yeah, that's my reason why we're still continuing.
Yeah, very cool. And what are some of the unexpected benefits of podcasting?
Yeah.
Things that you didn't really think that you would like so much.
I love people's entrepreneurial journey. And I think, entrepreneurs by their nature just want to get into it. So when you have a business meeting, it's let's go, this is the agenda, all about efficiency. And it was so nice to hear people's stories, not under, a lot of people engage with Wexer from okay, I want to solve digital, so I'm going to bring Wexer in. So then you start talking about digital. But it's so nice to hear all about their different backgrounds and their different entrepreneurial journeys. That actually inspired me significantly. And I don't think we share enough. Like, I know you do a great job of that, but I don't think, there's so many amazing personalities in our industry that have done amazing things and conquered a lot of, overcome a lot of odds that we just don't know. I was talking to Akshar from FitPass and his background and how he, it was just, it's an amazing story. So I get really inspired by that. So I've definitely benefited a lot from hearing other people's entrepreneurial journeys as well, which I imagine you have as well. What's your big takeaway?
Oh, geez, man. I just love it. I really do. I think, I think half my life is in podcasting now. It's been, this podcast and
Yeah.
Alpha Tech Scripted and
Yeah.
podcasts I help with and the podcast collective. It's like, I just love the medium. I love how it's so adaptable to one's goals. Really, if you want it for business development, it's a great tool, right? If you want to build authority, it's a great tool. If you want to, actually go direct to consumer and build a mass audience, that's there for you to take time. It doesn't happen overnight, people.
Yes.
But there's just a lot to it. But I think my favorite part about it is just on a human level is like, I very rarely nowadays get the opportunity to sit down, even though we're not in the same room physically, is that I don't have my phone on. I don't even know where it is right now. I'm just fully engaged in what Paul Bowman is saying and your story. And I just feel like that's it's almost, it's therapeutic in a way, because what was stressing me out 10 minutes before you and I started recording, I'm not even thinking about right now.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
so I think that's pretty cool. And you just build really cool relationships, not too many chances for people to come to Whitefish, Montana, where I live. And I could do this in person. So thank God that, for mediums like Riverside and a lot of other ones. So that's what I love about it. And, I would be curious to hear about your entrepreneurial journey, as you reflect on the ones that you listen to on your podcast and the people, within your network or other entrepreneurs and executives, like, is there any like commonality of experiences, like something that everybody seems to have gone through or everybody seems to go through on a daily basis? Like they say it's lonely at the top, or, there's dark times, during entrepreneurship that people don't quite understand. Like, what are some of the commonalities that you've strung together?
I think it's I actually get asked this question a lot in terms of like, of course, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs? And I always say you should tell them not to do it, because because it's so bloody hard. And then they should get so many no's and still want to get through it. Right. And I think that the commonality that I've heard from so many people is so many people told them no. So many people thought it was a stupid idea. So many people, and they all carried on. You know what I mean? And I think that is probably you got so much, Scott Galloway's quite good at highlighting the three major things, or this is what an entrepreneur should do. But I think it's just that grit and that determination to succeed and see no's and keep going, and that's, for me, has probably been what I've kind of gone, oh, okay, so everyone shared the same thing. Everyone had that, because, some you see so successful, and I've been very fortunate to spend a lot of time with some of the biggest club operators in the world, and you go, wow, how did you get to that? But it didn't start like, they had to, firstly get over their own hurdles from everyone saying no. Then they had to get their own team to be able to believe in them, and then from believing and then scaling and supporting and creating great product, and that's always really inspiring. But that, to me, is always essentially that's the cookie cutter. Everyone gets told no so many different times. They persevere. They build the team. Their team buys into what they do. They create great product, they start to succeed. And so that, from a commonality point of view, is what I've seen.
Yeah, it's like you got to be smart in some ways and dumb in others, right? Like you have to be so dumb in some ways that, like, when people keep picking you, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to get back up.
Yes,
and,
yeah. Well, I support 2 startups. I'm chairman of 2 startups as well, and it's exactly that. That's the advice: is just, you just got to keep going. Like it doesn't. Everyone's been there where you're looking at payroll, going, how do I make that? Or I need to go raise some more money to be able to justify my idea. But everyone's done it. No one's had a nice ride. So, and sometimes, even if you have a nice ride, you're able to raise money really, really quickly. What I've seen a lot, and especially in the fitness space, is they kind of get addicted to the capital raise. They actually forget to create the great product. And so, that's what I found interesting as well. But, I'm not going to chuck any names down on that one.
They probably mentioned this podcast before, but one thing I've also noticed is, like, now I'm, the Podcast Collective, which is our, kind of modern PR agency that I started about eight months ago. Almost all of my clients are founders and entrepreneurs. And I find that, I love working with them. I mean, we get it, like scrappiness, like, let's just, let's figure it out. It doesn't matter how we do it. Let's get it done. Right.
Yes.
And, but they seem to be the most supportive of people who are starting something new,
100%.
right? Like when they, people I know, if we're like, oh, you're doing, oh, cool. Well, yeah, let's talk, right? Like,
Yes,
they want to be part of that. It's just like, it's almost like this common addiction to, like, unhealthy levels of suffering
But
the
do you not?
monetary gains, right?
There's not a lot that actually succeed. I think for me,
Yeah,
it's like I want to help you. Yeah, like the reason why I got involved in the two startups I did is I want to help you see through. The Owen, the CEO of Coach Welly, says it really well. You help me see through walls. Because I'm like, don't make the same mistakes that I have, so you can speed this up. Because like the Kevin, as a Kevin Kelly reference, is every time you create a solution, you also create a new problem. So we're going to create problems, but let's just not repeat the same problems or same issues that I did. You know what I mean? And I think not a lot of people, not a lot of people have gone through that. Like it's entrepreneurial. Entrepreneurial as a I don't know, whatever. It's quite lonely, right? But when you've met an entrepreneur that's done the same thing, you understand what I've been through, or you can appreciate what I've done. Rather than the traditional corporate job. Not taking anything away from people that do corporate jobs. Everyone does it, but yeah, it's a particular, I don't know, maybe naivety, to make the ideas succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. And people who look at entrepreneurs and, I think it's been glorified over the past few decades and,
Yeah.
Cool shows like Shark Tank and things like that. Right.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, if people are listening and they want to start their own gig and they have a new idea, they want to pursue, like, pump the brakes for a second, because you're probably going to make more money if you don't do that. And you're probably going to sleep better and have better health if you don't do that. So just contemplate those things as you kind of move forward.
Funny study here that they did entrepreneurs, top level surgeon, and plumbers. This is Australia and New Zealand, so I don't know if it's completely relevant to the rest of the world. And who was better off? Like, in terms of, if you take the debt load, the stress, the mental health, all the rest of it, the plumber came out by far the best in terms of money, in terms of the mental health, in terms of all of this type of stuff, where like the entrepreneur either, kind of feast or famine, and then the surgeon was pretty thin, but had a lot of debt. As we through that had to end up being paid off. So, it's a joke that, it's better off to be a plumber in Australia and New Zealand than us.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Last question. I just want to, because you're a technologist, right? I want to kind of zoom back here. When you look at fitness, health, and wellness landscape, is there any technology, and it doesn't have to be related to anything that you do in Wexer, right? But anything that gets you really excited, anything that you're very bullish on right now?
I keep going back, and I know it's the fundamental Wexer, but I keep going back to just this hyper personalization. Like if it comes from AI, if it comes from how we're doing it, we just need to support, for the betterment of our industry, we need to support our members, either support them or inspire them. And we can do that. I said it offline, to be more human in my eyes, you need to go digital, because it's the only way you can scale your overall service and your overall brand. So anything in that space really, really excites me.
Well, the last question I always enjoy asking on this one is, what are the biggest challenges that you're facing right now? And I ask that in the spirit of, like, how can we help you as an industry? What would you like to hear from people about? So yeah, what's on your mind now?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for me is the adoption curve. Adoption curve of digital. So everyone's engaging with digital in some fashion, shape, or form. But for me, it's all about how do we actually helping digital serve that member in the best way possible. And I still don't think, for the betterment of our industry, we're there yet. I think, set it offline, it's a bit of a punchy comment, but, if we had, if as a traditional fitness industry, we had everything on point, we were servicing members digitally and physically, like that boom of those B2C operators and how much they came from nowhere with a lot of money probably wouldn't exist. And so how much more members would we have been able to attract if they could just quickly go back to another brand X that they is down the road, right? And I feel like we missed a massive opportunity as an industry on that one, but I still believe we're offering the better product. So therefore, for me, it's all about adoption. It's how do we, in every single boardroom, in every single meeting, how are we putting that customer first to be able to support them 24/7? And that's not just in the fitness result of weight loss or weight gain or getting fitter, also in mental health, also holistical health, also sleeping better. And I think we just need to take more responsibility for it. So that would be that's what keeps me up at night, to work out how to get, we've got some amazing case stories, but we don't have the entire industry doing that and pulling the same way yet.
Awesome, man. Well, Paul, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
LinkedIn is by far the easiest, or my email is just paul@wexer.com. please feel free to get in touch.
Right on. Right on. Well, appreciate your time. Time zones are always tricky when it comes to recording like this. You've been in New Zealand, I'm in North America, but it's been a pleasure. I'm glad we finally got to do this after all these years of missing.
Pleasure talking and nice meeting you finally.
Yeah, right. We'll do it in person next. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Bowman.
Thank you, Eric.